This might just be the stupidest thing we've talked about on this channel. What's up, disc generates? I'm Jefferson, one half of the disc golf world, bringing you all of the disc golf you need every Monday. Shout out to all the Patreon members supporting us doing what we love. You know, talk about all the drama. Before you get pissed, that was the title of the article. Can't blame us this time. If somehow you missed, earlier this week on The Independent, which reaches over 100,000 readers, released an article on disc golf. And not a good one. Somehow the Paul McBeth Foundation is catching some of the flack too, and not just for the alleged promoting creationism either. Although, the article had to correct the use of metal flying discs in the original title because the author couldn't even take 2 seconds to research the sport. Yet, I'm still expected to give my full attention to the rest of the pandering language that already has me convinced it will continue to be based on no research. Besides, I'm offended. After that misleading title, you get to the first sentence that starts the racism accusations. Sorry, but you can't use the term colonizer as your headline and claim you weren't trying to specifically point out a race problem. Yet you read the quote provided, and I'm confused how asking someone to move so they don't get hit all of a sudden translates to racism. If I was the one on the tee-pad, I'm launching my metal disc over your heads without warning. Call me a dick then, but not the people actually looking out for your well-being. I'm not even going to talk about how entitled you have to be to think you own a damn 72-acre park. But I'm going to stick to arguing about the nonsense in this waste of time article. Never mind. The next paragraph, it admits the park was empty. So again, I don't understand the entitlement that the book you're reading is so much more important, you can block the path of everyone else's enjoyment. Calling a basket an eyesore is an opinion they can have. Personally, these are eyesores to me, but art to someone else. So basically what I'm saying is, get over it. This is also the part of the article when the Paul McBeth Foundation was officially brought up, being used as the organization to blame for these atrocious looking contraptions taking away from the beauty of the trees. You know, in New York City. I also like how conveniently this time she says communities instead of the foundation trying to bring the game to underprivileged areas without access to the sport to promote alternative and healthy lifestyles. In places such as Chicago, Detroit, New Jersey, not only in the United States, but also Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Uganda, Kenya, and so much more. I'm not one to swoop in pulling the race card, so I'll use the article's words as these courses were purposely placed to be heavily used by local residents of color. So how about instead of using that as a negative, we spin it as an alternative to whatever else is going on in someone's life. Child, adult, black, white, or whatever else race. Because the best part about disc golf is, literally anyone can play. I mean, it's not like we're out here chucking metal, it's fucking plastic. But apparently, this article wants to make it seem like the white man is coming to take over the city. I'm not reading this paragraph, but here it is if you want to hear about the white dude bro culture we apparently bring. However, I will listen to what is said here because the issue of the course really should be focused on the danger it could present to families and more importantly, children. Glad I could sit through getting called the colonizers before I agreed with something, but I'm used to the name calling. The same can't be said about every disc golfer in New York City or anywhere close by that could potentially help the problem. Because if you thought the comments were positive from the community, you would be more wrong than Swiss cheese in directions. Seriously, I'll just throw up a couple on the screen for those that want to pause and read. I went back and forth if I wanted to address this, especially when I didn't hear about it from anyone else. Then I started receiving texts from non-disc golfers that knew me calling the sport I love racist. Also, who the fuck does that? Like, people who I went to high school with, who I haven't talked to in years, were sending me this shit. It was like the opposite of the holy shot effect. The Paul McBeth Foundation is arguably one of the best things for disc golf, specifically for the outreach to areas of color, providing a safe alternative to who knows the other lifestyle. Because one thing's for sure, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know the impact. However, I'm going to take the side of the organization whose mission is helping underdeserved communities, has been doing it for years, and worked alongside the city, over the one throwing buzzwords to fire up white savior moms like what you're doing is helping areas of color, when really you're just pissed you had to move in the middle of reading Confessions of a Shopaholic for the 4th time. Okay, back to the nonsense. Because I find it extremely hard that every disc golfer is a so-called transplant or outsider. Plus, the course has been there for less than a year. Sorry not everyone has had a chance to flock to it like a bunch of mingos. I understand wanting to stay anonymous when speaking out, but it also feels weird when these people are allegedly not from the neighborhoods. Should be an easy argument to the city for change. Not saying it isn't true, but I'm someone who likes to base my views on facts and evidence, which so far has not been presented. But yeah, that one guy from Greenpoint really proves the point. As a Frisbeetarian, I find it troubling an urbanist would be so against a free activity that welcomes all, regardless of class, race, or ethnic origin. Although I admit this is completely anecdotal, but I haven't experienced or even heard of a community more welcoming than disc golfers. I'm not talking fans of the professional side, but go to a league and see for yourself. Like others, I've been able to sleep on so many couches, get countless homemade dinners, and plenty of other help just simply by mentioning I lived in a minivan. Never did I ask for anything, but disc golfers would come to my help without ever knowing who I was because they saw a human in need and wanted to do all they could. It upsets me when someone who doesn't know our culture wants to write a bunch of bullshit as if they tried to understand who or what we are. Because even after this article, some took a different approach than talk shit online. Chuck Kennedy, one of the best course designers in the world, suggested a more putt-putt style in high population areas. And to me, that sounds like a perfect solution. Disc golf's hard, and I always felt it was a large ask to expect beginners to be horrible and want to continue to play. Some people like the challenge, but majority don't want to do something they aren't good at. When you have holes maxing out at 150 feet, lots more people will want to come back, and more importantly to me, kids will want to play, which is currently the hardest demographic for disc golf to build and retain. Just when you think things can't get worse. First off, don't compare disc golf to polo. To even suggest a high-class sport to make the comparison of, look, they're white and evil, is gross. Again, look at the demographic of disc golfers. Seriously, not trying to be mean, but traveling through every state east of the Mississippi and more, specifically for disc golf, I saw firsthand the low income status. That's totally just from my personal experience, and I understand that, but this is more research than the urbanist did on our sport. The amount of stories from dirt poor disc golfers that made it purely because of their frisbee ability amazes me. I'm talking Barsby, Philo, Stokely, and more of the greats scraping by, so fuck that polo comparison. Here's a map of the park. To say that disc golfers create a hierarchy is insane. Just pick a different spot to hang out. No one is saying you can't use the damn park. It'll still be free, people can still connect, and guess what? The nature will still be there. And what in the fuck is this story? What type of red herring is this? Suggesting that disc golf is taking away migrants' abilities to do anything is actually crazy. First, you say places like Highland Park, which already suggests that there's other options. Second, plenty of places within the park to still kick the damn football. And third, did Edwin say this, or is this really just a grasp pulling on people's emotions to agree with you? Feels like it when you're using words like tyranny and anti-ethical when we're talking about frisbees made of plastic. Remember, because from the original way this was wrote, it was said that disc golfers were throwing heavy, dangerous metal discs at park enjoyers. And wait, it gets worse. We gotta talk about an almost comical hairbringer of gentrification. I'm not gonna go off on that. But I do find it bullshit to lump disc golf in there when it can also be an attempt to build a stronger community with a free activity that most would be discovering together, while also being an active way to combat obesity, especially with children in a city with less options. A sport you don't need another person to enjoy, helping fight loneliness, depression, or other negative feelings. Things can be perceived however you want when you're out to make them look bad. Hopefully, this shows that there are positives that can come along the way. Go check out the full article for yourself. Maybe I'm way off base on this one, but that's the views from a disc golf loving 23-year-old college graduate. Oh yeah, and white. Hey, I did all that shit talking without making the so-called easy dunk because I would personally rather debunk the stupidity. But it would be unethical of me if I didn't allow the disc golfers to express their opinions. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about some other disc golf news that dropped over the weekend. If you didn't hear, the World Team Disc Golf Championships just went down. Don't worry, I had no idea either until Thomas Gilbert told me about it. So let's hear what he has to say.
We are in Australia, so Mundering Disc Golf Park.
This is the 5th World Team Disc Golf Championships, and what we're looking at is a match play format. So compared to normal disc golf is stroke play, match play is you win the hole. So it's quite aggressive, quite competitive. We're breaking up the tournament to a pool play of very fast and aggressive 9-hole loops over the first day and a half. And then we're going to switch to 18 holes. And it'll be a single play and also doubles play, various combinations of pros. And teams will accumulate points. So it's going to be quite brutal, fun, exciting, everything we want to see out here.
On paper, sounds like an awesome event. I do wish there were more recognizable names representing, but I don't blame those not wanting to volunteer their time after a long season and paying to get there without a real reward. But it was cool seeing Thomas Gilbert, Albert Tom, Sophia Donica, Leah Sinagini, and anyone else I'm forgetting just to save my ass. Along with the 23 countries represented in the event, as this was the last chance to get into the World Games China. Another aspect I wish was told more was the history behind the course, and why the audience should care even if there was no true investment in the players. I mean, this is where Paul McBeth won one of his 5 majors on the greatest season ever.
Here behind me, you have the iconic hole 1 from the Aussie Open.
This course has just celebrated its 10-year anniversary of our club, so it's been in for 10 years, 2013, 2014 it came in. From a historical point of view, we've had 2 Aussie Opens. We've had a really decent attendance by pros around the world come out and just play this course. Mostly it's been very hot, and that was one of the commentaries at the time. But it's a natural bush course. We try not to clear too much. So if you look around, you'll see a lot of fairways, but that's the golfers themselves, or golf as I like to call it.
I wish there was more coverage, as the disc golf world would love to go in depth of the event, but would be boring without seeing what we were actually talking about. However, there was some live streams from Park Disc Golf that you guys can go check out, but I'll do my best fast recap. After many tough rounds of grueling disc golf in the hot sun, the Final Four came down to Canada versus Australia and Norway versus Estonia. Canada had a worse start than expected, which found them playing the top team in Pool A early. After 18 holes, the teams would find themselves locked up going into an intense battle. Team Canada, however, would come on top. This is the drama we need in disc golf. These events and unique styles bring out true emotion and entertaining ways to present the story. Now, in the semis, Canada would be in the same position, this time tied up with Australia. And after more sudden death action, this would be Canada's putt to win the semis. Maybe we need international basket standards. Australia would then go on to win, headed straight to the championship over what many would call the tournament favorite, Estonia. And they would be right, as they would win the match 8-0 and become back-to-back world team champions. Well, that was fun. Hopefully we can cover more of it next time. That goes for any event for the 2025 season. Your boys want to expand fully into the world of disc golf. We're always just a message away, open for any and all ideas. You just gotta ask.